Hey, happy Thursday everybody. Today I want to go over 5 tips for city building in Talespire. The first tip is that every city is going to have a few unique buildings. You know what your city needs, what you want your players to be drawn to, so build those first. The temple, the keep, the tavern, the market, etc. Whatever it is that your city needs, you should get that set up first and then build the housing around it. I'll post additional builds, for example buildings of those later, but for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use the tavern and the large house that I used in the rooftop demo. Unique buildings will draw your player's eye, and in order to stand out, some degree of uniformity is going to be needed for the rest of the city. Uniformity doesn't have to mean blandness, though. Row housing is the easiest and most effective way to fill space along your streets. So I'm going to show you some really easy templates to start with so that you can build an entire city out of these. Here are 4 very simple shapes. These are all really small because my players are never going to go inside. And if they do, I know that a large conversation can be had without lowering the roof and just from looking at it from the front. And if they end up in some sort of combat encounter, I can have a separate larger battle map prepared if necessary. From these 4 shapes, you can mix and match the building tiles from all the build sections, create 4 single floor row houses, and don't add anything fancy or add chimneys or anything like that yet, but do line up the roof angles at the back so that when you place them next to each other, they'll butt up nicely. Copy and paste your walled section of these 4 templates and start a bunch of new templates adding a second floor. A few of these shapes you can double them up to having one shape with a balcony and one shape without, which will increase the diversity in the shape and size of your rows. Add the roofs to those, and again, don't dress anything or add chimneys yet, and just make sure that you line up the back roof angle so that all of those houses line up together. Now you can copy and paste the completed templates into rows using between 5 and 7 of each template per row, lining up that back wall so that the rooftops you prepared earlier all match up properly. Use the control key to keep them all on the same level, and if you want to stagger your heights even more, you can raise or lower one of the houses in each row a couple notches here as well. Now comes the time for the set dressing. Throw in some tables and chairs, add additional windows, put in stairwells to balconies where it makes sense. You can use the awning from the merchant building section to cover some areas, and then add chimneys last at random. Dressing each row as a whole will give your city more variety than if you just copy-pasted the same dressed house over and over again. Like if this particular balcony had a table and chair on it in every single row, it would stand out and look a little bit weird. And finally, if you make enough rows, nobody will notice they're all the same. That being said, don't worry too much about uniformity. Ultimately, you'll need 5 or 6 rows that you can use over and over again, and that's a good thing. You want your players' eyes drawn to the larger, important buildings, so some uniformity in the residential row housing is important in order to look interesting, but not interesting enough to warrant further investigation. I'll be publishing this board at Tales Tavern with a link in the description below, so if you want to use these templates, you can grab it there. Thanks for hanging out again, and again, I'm just sharing things that I've kind of figured out as I go along in Talespire. So if you have any tips or ideas for builds, please share them in the comments, because I would really genuinely love to learn from you as well. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.